Greetings, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Imagination Station. It's your favorite author, Lisa Walker McCrae, with another gripping story time from the pages of my novel, A Peculiar Kind of Love. Remember, you guys, this video is for entertainment purposes only. First and foremost, big praise to the Most High Yah, and to you guys that are still in this thing with me, much love and respect from this way. So, my question to you now is, are you guys ready to turn some pages and see what those imaginations holds for us today? I thought so. Clarence, why don't you see if you can set the stage? Okay, beautiful souls, quick recap of part 1, Oil and Water. We revisited Serenity Meadows, and our girl Drew has employees. Yes, Miss Sue, Rain, and Mr. P. Now, we all know Rain and Miss Sue. If you don't, go back and explore the 3rd or 4th story time. Hint, hint. Now, Mr. P is new to the village, and he's a bit hard for Drew to figure out. But Gabe loves him, so that's good enough for Drew. For her, anyone that Gabe was comfortable with couldn't be that bad. While we're on the subject of bad, Drew and Jay had a bad argument about Marcus. Jay wants Drew to reach out and she doesn't want to. Now Dean had to step in and kind of set Jay straight on some things concerning Drew, and she made some pretty good points. So let's get into it and see if Dean's words fell on deaf ears or if Jay took heed to them and tried to make an effort to make things right with Drew. What do y'all think about this situation with Drew and Marcus? Do y'all think she should have stood by him? Let me know. I like to hear your feedback. In the meantime, between time, let's go ahead and see how Rain is handling things at Serenity Meadows. If y'all can remember, Drew left her there to greet Mr. Styles. And it seems we're just in time. Mr. Styles had been prompt with his arrival. It's 2:01 and he's standing at the check-in counter waiting patiently for Rain to check him in. This place is beautiful, Mr. Styles said to himself as he looked around the B&B. He couldn't believe the elegance the Victorian home held. For him, the place was breathtaking. This place is fantastic. How long have you guys been in operation? Mr. Styles continued his observation. At the same time, Rain admired his poise. She informed Mr. Styles that Drew had been in business only a few months. Mr. Styles asked if the owner was in. Rain informed him that she wasn't, but she could send her up as soon as she was back on the property. No, that's quite all right. Under any circumstances am I to be disturbed, Mr. Styles informed. Rain nodded her head with understanding. At the same time, she examined Mr. Styles. For her, he was gorgeous. Rain didn't know what was more eye-catching, his long locks, his salt and pepper beard, or the biceps that bulged from under his shirt. Rain wished Drew was there to greet Mr. Styles, because for all she knew, this gentleman may be good boyfriend material for Drew. Rain checked his ring finger. And he's not married? Come on, Drew, get back here, she thought to herself. Excuse me, miss, Mr. Styles interrupted Rain's examination and thoughts. I'm sorry, it's Rain. You can call me Rain, she welcomed. Mr. Styles threw Rain a blushing smile. He could tell the young lady was checking him out, but for him, she was only a child. Can I get my key now? I would love to settle in. Rain giggled, handing Mr. Styles his room key. I hope you enjoy your stay. Pete will show you to your room. Rain handed Mr. Styles an innocent smile. Pete grabbed his bags. Thank you, young lady. Mr. Styles started towards the stairs but paused his steps, informing Rain he'd be taking all his meals in the room and the prepared meals should be left outside the door. Rain assured that wouldn't be a problem and the staff would comply. Oh yeah, Mr. Styles, before I forget, the B&B will be having a barbecue, so if... Mr. Styles raised his hand, stopping Rain in mid-sentence. Under no circumstances should I be disturbed. He grabbed his laptop from the check-in counter, retiring upstairs with Pete in tow. Rain scrolled her face. Cute, but weird, she said to self. So, the evening passed and the night was peaceful. It's the next evening, Drew and Rain were at the check-in counter sorting out receipts when Drew noticed Miss Sue approaching the stairs with a dinner tray in hand. Excuse me, Miss Sue, are not all the guests attending the barbecue this evening? Miss Sue told Drew that Mr. Styles had requested all his meals to be brought to the room. Miss Sue went on to say she tried to get him to come down for the barbecue, but he declined. Miss Sue's face held a quizzical look. She chuckled. The young man is weird, if you ask me, with one hell of an appetite. She informed Drew Mr. Styles ate when he got there yesterday, again last night, and if she didn't eat the last of the fried chicken from yesterday, she was pretty sure Mr. Styles had eaten that as well. Rain looked at Miss Sue sideways, questioning how did she know Mr. Styles ate the chicken when there were more guests in the B&B. Miss Sue stood with her hands on her hip, returning the side-eye glare. I know because the guests eat from the guest refrigerator. The chicken was taken from the house refrigerator. Any more questions, Miss Rain? Rain rolled her eyes at the sassy old lady. Drew begged for them both to humble. Okay, because Miss Sue was about to take Rain down through there. Anywho, Drew was even more puzzled by the mystery man. She wanted to know who he was. Miss Sue, if you don't mind, I'll be taking Mr. Styles his dinner tonight. Miss Sue gladly handed the tray over. She told Drew to be her guest, and if she could get Mr. Styles to open the door, she'd be doing better than her. Miss Sue then started to rant about how she'd been up there twice already, and it was always the same response. Leave it outside the door. The sassy old lady smacked her lips. Now the guy may be good looking, but not that good looking for me to keep running those stairs. Drew was intrigued by Miss Sue's statement. She asked, so you've seen him as well? Miss Sue told Drew she didn't actually see his face because he was already headed back up the stairs when she encountered him. But hon, see, let me tell you, Miss Sue smacked her lips in her hips. He's a manly man, you hear me? Rain agreed with Miss Sue, comparing Mr. Styles to a hobbit, but a fine one. Drew laughed out. You two are a mess. She then headed up the stairs to deliver nutrients and to be nosy. Y'all know our girl nosy. Anywho, Drew was now standing at the nature room's door. She'd knocked for the second time and there was still no response from Mr. Styles. Drew shook her head. For a moment there, she thought he would finally come down off his high horses and maybe join the other guests at the barbecue, in hopes to get a chance to properly introduce herself and to find out who she was housing. Drew headed back down the nature room stairs, grumbling. I should have gotten those cameras like Monte told me to. I bet I'd known who he was then. Drew kicked herself in the butt. She gonna learn to listen. Can you please leave the tray on the table outside the door? Mr. Styles asked. Finally a response, Drew thought to self, heading back up the stairs. Drew hurried to introduce herself, also informing she was the owner of the place and she had his dinner. Once again, Mr. Styles asked that she leave the tray on the table. Then he thanked her. Drew set the tray on the table. She then apologized to Mr. Styles for not being there yesterday to greet him. Mr. Styles pressed his ear to the door. For reasons stranger than we know, he was drawn to Drew's sweet voice. He wanted to look upon the face connected to the soothing voice, but his anxiety started to get the best of him. Put it on the table, please. Mr. Styles' request almost sounded like orders. Drew raised a brow. She was even more puzzled and suspicious about who he was. Hearing the mystery in Mr. Styles' voice made the situation more intense and mysterious. "I will find out who you are, Mr. Styles," Drew said to self on her way back down the stairs. See, Drew is up for the challenge, you hear me? Anyway, the evening passed and it's the next morning. Drew and Rain were in her office going over the schedule when Jay walked in with a box of donuts. He set them on her desk. "Truce," he uttered, handing Drew a smile. Drew looked at the goofy expression on Jay's face, and as much as she wanted to stay mad, she couldn't. How can I refuse a truce when donuts are used as a bribe? Drew got one of the donuts and took a bite. Rain didn't say a word. She was in a trance staring at Jay. Now, Jay had been in the B&B hundreds of times, and she'd sat with Gabe 101, but every time she saw Jay, it was like the first time. "Rain, get your fast tail somewhere and park it." Anyway, Jay noticed Rain's trance. "Good morning, Rain," he greeted with a smile. His dimples roped her, pulling Rain in. Jay asked if she wanted a donut. Rain heard the question but couldn't produce the answer. Stumbling her words, she told Jay, referring to him as Mr. Tate, no, that she was fine. Jay reminded her that it was okay to call him Jay. "Okay, Mr. Tate, Jay." Rain ran off giggling. She could hardly contain herself. Jay chuckled. He thought the little crush was cute. He took a donut from the box and bit it. "I'm thinking about buying a truck," he stated. He then took his phone from his back pocket and showed Drew a picture of an 81 Chevy short bed pickup truck. "That's nice," Drew replied. Jay told Drew he knew she'd like it. Then he informed the guy only wanted $15 for it, and he was thinking about going to check it out on his way to Atlanta to check on Marcus's shop. "Do it, Jay. You only live once," Drew encouraged, never taking her eyes off the computer. Jay eyed Drew. "Look, enough of this small talk. I want to apologize for the other day." Drew tried to assure Jay it was fine, but he wouldn't have it. He continued his apology. "Look, Drew, I'm sorry. I understand why you can't see Marcus." Drew looked at Jay with tears in her eyes. "It just hurts too bad, Jay." Jay leaned in and kissed Drew's forehead. "I know, Drew." Meanwhile, Mr. Styles was on the outside of Drew's office about to enter when he heard her and Jay conversating. Drew wiped an escaped tear. "Marcus called me, Jay," she informed. Jay looked at Drew with widened, surprised eyes. "Wow, Marcus called you? When?" he asked. Drew told him it was about a month ago. Jay was shocked Drew hadn't said anything. He asked her why hadn't she said anything. Drew told him she knew he would try to guilt her into going for a visit. Drew began to cry, explaining she was so shattered when hearing Marcus's voice, and she didn't know if it was because of guilt or sympathy. "Ah, Drew." Jay pulled her from the office chair for an embrace of comfort. He spoke. "Drew, it's okay to be confused about your feelings. That comes naturally with heartbreak. Remember the kiss?" Drew laughed. "How can I forget it? Y'all remember the kiss?" Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Mr. Styles was still standing outside the office door. The conversation between Jay and Drew seemed to be getting a little personal, so he started back upstairs when running into Mr. Pete. He hurried to clear his throat. "Excuse me, Mr. Pete. I was looking for Rain. I need fresh towels." Mr. Pete uttered, eyeing Mr. Styles. He could see the mystery man was embarrassed about being caught eavesdropping. Pete asked Mr. Styles if he wanted him to get Drew because she was right there in her office. Mr. Pete pointed at the door behind the check-in counter. Mr. Styles moved quickly, trying to get back up the stairs. No, Mr. Pete, it's fine. I'm good. That'll be quite all right. She's busy right now anyway, and I don't want to interrupt." Mr. Pete assured it was no problem. Actually, he was eager to get Drew for Mr. Styles. Mr. Styles told him not to bother, it was just fine. Then he ran up the stairs. Pete watched the young man rush up the stairs like he was in fear for his life. He shook his head. That boy is weird, Pete said to self. I'm with you, Mr. Pete. Mr. Styles is definitely a weird one, almost as weird as Betty and Larry. Anyway, the morning passed and the afternoon had been slow. It was later in the evening and Drew was in the music room putting out fresh towels, having a peaceful conversation with Ya when she heard footsteps leaving the lounge area. She quickly dashed from the bathroom, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mystery man. Ouch, shoot! Drew cringed after hitting her pinky toe on the wooden chest that sat in front of the bed. Mr. Styles paused his steps when hearing a thumping noise come from the room. He walked over to investigate. Putting his ear to the door, he heard a woman fussing. Unsure to what was going on, Mr. Styles hurried to pull himself away from the door and headed back upstairs to the nature room. He didn't want to risk getting caught eavesdropping by Mr. Pete again. Still in pain, Drew hopped over to the door in hopes to get a quick look. Unfortunately, by the time she made it over, Mr. Mystery was already headed back upstairs. The only thing she saw were the long flowing locks down his back. Are you serious? Are you freaking kidding me? Drew grumbled, taking a seat on the wooden chest, rubbing her toe. She had a good mind to go up to the nature room and demand Mr. Styles speak with her. But Drew held back, thinking the mystery guest just might be a critic or someone Mr. Kingston sent to check the place out ahead of his stay. Sees, Mr. Styles has the entire B&B in the uproar. Serenity Meadows is really bringing in some characters. First Betty and Larry, then Mr. Pete, who is rather new to the village. He don't seem to be wrapped too tight himself. Then there's Mr. Mystery, who no one knows anything about. Could Drew's purpose for opening Serenity Meadows be for more than just peace seekers? Our imaginations can take us many places when considering Serenity Meadows' guest. This place seemed to attract those in need of healing and restoration. Who knows? Well, I do. I just need you guys to drop back by to find out. So, feel free to join me for the next story time where the village take their investigation into Mr. Styles to another level. Until then, put this in your mental. Yah sees the desires you carry quietly. He hears every prayer you've whispered. Trust his timing. Nothing heartfelt goes ignored. Yah bless this reading and yourselves. Smooches.